I am now celebrating my 15-year coaching anniversary, and it's been a wild ride over the last 15 years helping runners improve their performances all around the world. And in this video, I want to share some of the lessons that I've learned from writing runners' training plans. So if you have to write your own training plan, maybe you're in between seasons and you've got, a 6 to 8 week period of time before you start your next formal season of training, or maybe you're just building out your own half marathon or marathon season, I want to share some of the big lessons that are going to help you with building a good training plan, especially if you need to move things around a little bit, if you need to veer from the plan. I always like to say, even as someone who writes a lot of training plans, literally makes his living from writing training plans, I will say that every training plan is written in pencil. You're going to have to move things around. You're going to have to shuffle the schedule because of life, and that's okay. So let's get started with some of the big lessons I've learned from 15 years of coaching. So rule number one, let's always do the normal things that are in any training plan. One of the things I've learned is that runners tend to revert to some bad habits sometimes if they're not following a formal training plan. So if you're ever not on a plan, but you still want to maintain your running fitness, you should still do all the things that you normally do in a training plan, but just dial it way back. So for example, we should still do a long run. We should still do a workout. We should still run 4 or 5, maybe 6 days a week. These are all very good habits to develop as a runner. And if we can maintain it, even if we're not formally training, we're going to be able to maintain much higher fitness levels. Now, the key here is you don't always have to do a 20-mile long run. You don't always have to do a very difficult workout. You don't always have to run 7 days a week or do anything much more substantial than that. The key is to tone down the scope of your training, but still maintain all of those really good habits. So you might do a really simple workout, like a couple miles at half marathon pace, separated by a few minutes of recovery. You might do a short, simple fartlek of 5 to 8 times a minute at 5K to 10K race pace. You might do some short hills, 30 seconds, full recovery. These are not terribly difficult workouts, but they do an excellent job at maintaining all of those physiological skills that you need so that when you enter your next formal season, you're not playing catch up for 4 to 6 weeks at the beginning of that season. Next, we always want to respect the density of our training. Now, density is a really important topic, particularly when we're talking about intensity or faster workouts, really the more difficult aspects of anything in your running program. So a lot of what we see is runners condensing too much intensity in too short of a time period. They might take 2 days off, do an easy run, then they'll do a long run, another day off, and then a workout. And the next thing you know, they've taken their 2 hardest workouts and they've put it into one half of the week, leaving the rest of the week all easy. And because running has such a high injury risk, particularly when we're inserting faster workouts into the training plan, we really need to respect the recovery process. And the number one way that you recover is just by giving your body time. And so the way that we respect this in a training plan is by not having too much intensity density, not putting too many hard workouts too close to each other. So let's make sure that you're having 1, 2, or 3 days of easy running or recovery in between your hard days. And hard days can just be defined as, whatever is in your training plan that is considered hard by you. So for example, you might be doing a workout and you have a long run. Those are your hard days. You might be doing 2 workouts and a long run. And as soon as your schedule gets to the point where you are doing 2 workouts and a long run, that's where you have to really be careful here. So this piece of advice is a little bit more for the advanced runners who might be doing a little bit more advanced training and have more advanced things in their week, like 2 workouts and a long run. In this schedule, you might run your workouts Monday, Wednesday, and then do your long run on Saturday. You might also run your workouts Tuesday, Thursday, and do your long run on Sunday. These are really good schedules that will work, that a lot of pro runners employ, and it respects that recovery process in between your hard days. I have upgraded my daily greens mix. You have to try how good Previnex's Gut and Green Superfoods mix is. It tastes way better than my last greens mix, and I'm so happy to have made the switch. Now, not just because it tastes better, but because it has twice the fiber, it has clinically proven ingredients that help with digestion and gut health, and it actually has fewer ingredients. And this is actually a good thing. My last greens mix had dozens and dozens of greens in it, but in such tiny quantities that you're not getting much out of it. I'd rather focus on quality over quantity. And like everything from Previnex, they have clinically studied ingredients that are going to help with your GI system, your digestion. It's going to reduce inflammation and really help with your gut health. So thank you, Previnex, for using clinically verified ingredients. You got to check out their amazing apple flavor on Previnex.com. And if you want 20% off, use code JASONGREENS. And by the way, for every order, Previnex donates a bottle of multivitamins to kids in need. So thank you, Previnex. Now finally, and this is just as important as everything else, we also want to maintain all the other things that we do in our training plan. And in particular, these are doing a dynamic warm-up before we head out for our run, continuing to do strides almost every week of the year, and of course, being consistent with our strength training. Now let's talk about how to actually implement this in your training. This isn't rocket science. We don't have to make it super complicated. So I think every runner pretty much should do a dynamic warm-up pretty much before every run. And if you can respect this one rule, you're going to be building a lot more athleticism and general strength and coordination into your training, and you're just going to feel better in the first 5 to 10 minutes of your run. And so this, I think, is fundamental. You're going to see a lot of different teams using a variety of different types of dynamic warm-ups. We have many different available warm-ups on strengthrunning.com and here on our YouTube channel, because I think this is an easy way to help runners approach their running a little bit more conscientiously and strategically. So let's just try to always do that dynamic warm-up. It is a 5 to 10 minute process, and it really does pay dividends. It doesn't matter what phase of training you're in, if you're 3 days out from a race, if you just finished a training season, it's your first run back, let's always do that dynamic warm-up. Now next are strides. Strides are so fundamental. I mean, you can go to a middle school track practice and see kids running strides, and you can go to a professional Diamond League track race, and you're also gonna see professional runners running strides. And pretty much most weeks of the year, you should be running strides 2 or 3 days a week. They're that fundamental. So let's just make sure that we're not doing strides maybe the first week back after some time off. Let's just get our legs underneath us. Let's not worry about turnover and foot speed and output and force generation and things like that. Let's instead simply worry about kind of establishing that general foundation after some time off, and then maybe the second week back we can start strides. And we should almost always be doing our strength training. Now, of course, strength training is going to look different at different times of the year, but nevertheless, we should be very consistent with it. So let's stay consistent with our body weight strength workouts almost all the time, and then we can save some of the more challenging, heavier strength training workouts that we're going to do in the gym for other times in the season when we're working a little bit harder and we want the focus to be a little bit more challenging. But for the most part, we always want to keep these 3 things as a constant in our training, no matter what phase we're in. So those are some of the most important rules that I've learned over the last 15 years helping runners build training plans for themselves. And if you're doing it for yourself, I hope this is helpful. Of course, I can always help you build a training plan for an important goal race that you might have. But don't miss some of the other videos here on the channel, particularly the ones about how to structure your individual training weeks based on how many miles you run per week. So maybe you run 30 miles a week, maybe you run 50, maybe you're a high mileage runner and you're running 70 or 80 miles a week. How do you actually structure that? How is it supposed to look? How does each day progress and move to the next? These videos are going to be really helpful as you set up that structure, but you can also go to strengthrunning.com/coaching and learn a little bit more about the different programs we have that take care of all this for you. You don't really have to worry about it. You just have to worry about executing that good training and achieving your potential.